Hi guys, it's the Immaculate Threat Nevaeh Chantelle, and this is O Face Wrestling.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today on O Face Wrestling. This is your host JT, and today I'm joined by co-host Brianna, and we are joined by the Immaculate Threat Nevaeh Chantelle. So thanks for joining us today, Nevaeh.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I know that I had you on the show like back in September and like a quick like 3-minute in-person interview. So now we get more of a full in-depth interview with you to learn a little bit more. So I'm really excited because I really enjoyed that interview and I wanted to learn more, but obviously I didn't want to hold you up before your match and the event and all that kind of stuff. So let's get to it. So Brianna, did you want to start first?
Oh yeah, sure. I don't think we've actually kind of formally met, but I'm Brianna. I'm co-host for O Face Wrestling. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Thank you. So I think obviously, we'll try not to do too much of the generic questions of like how'd you get into wrestling and who your favorite wrestlers. I mean, you probably answered that question a billion times by now. But hopefully we'll have more kind of in-depth questions, and I think one of my more in-depth questions is while we may know how you may have gotten into wrestling, you're now in it, so has your perception of that environment changed in any way? Like have things been kind of how you expected them to be, or have things been different than what you thought they would be like?
Well, wrestling is definitely way different than what I thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
More the business aspect of it, how to handle bookings, how to handle, your personal brand as a wrestler, politics. Like you hear about these things, but once you're in the business, that's when you get a full concept of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a lot. Like when I first got into wrestling, I thought this was going to be a breeze. All I got to do is learn how to wrestle, try to get over, but it's way more than just being a good wrestler and trying to get over. You have to know the right people. You have to make sure promoters like you just to get your opportunity to shine.
Yeah, definitely. And what has been like, what is your experience been like promoting yourself? So do you use a lot of social media? Are you able to have t-shirts and such made? Do you have people who, you ask to kind of promote you, or is it more organic as it's coming from you?
I'm definitely a mixture. I definitely use social media.
Mm-hmm.
I found I use like the Facebook groups to try to like promote my stuff. I've used Twitter. Of course, I have merchandise. But what I found interesting is interacting with other wrestlers has definitely helped me grow because, once they retweet me and then I introduce myself to another wrestler and they're like, oh, I have an opportunity. It's like the networking definitely
Right.
I've learned can help me out a lot and just make my name a little bit more out there.
Makes sense.
So you mentioned like, connecting with other wrestlers and helping, having them help you like get your name out there and stuff like that. Like what about like the fans? Do you feel like how big of a role do you feel like the fans could be? Because obviously if a fan really likes a wrestler, they'll tweet about them, post about them, share, take a picture of the merchandise they just bought and post it. So like how big of a role do you feel like the fans also play in helping you out?
A huge role because their demand gets you another opportunity. If a fan really wants to see you wrestle, they will post it everywhere and a promoter will notice that, and that helps you get an opportunity. Just as much as like the backstage politics of being liked helps you, the fans still have to want to see you because that promoter wants to make money.
Yeah.
Exactly, because if the promoter knows that a specific wrestler is going to draw on a crowd, people will come. I mean, like me and my wife, we traveled to New Jersey, plenty of times to see specific wrestlers. We're traveling to Tennessee next month to see some certain wrestlers. Like people will travel like from state to state, to meet these wrestlers, and it helps the bookers out a lot too. They get the sales from the tickets, they might, and then, when a fan goes there for that wrestler, if they really like what that promotion offers, they might continue to go back. So yeah, I can definitely say that, it works out.
Okay.
So now my question for you, and it's kind of similar about like fans and all that. So being a wrestler, you obviously have fans, and how does it feel knowing that like people will travel to watch you wrestle? People will buy merchandise that say your name on it, like you're like kind of like a celebrity kind of feel.
For real, like it's weird because growing up, I was a wrestling fan. I was the one buying the merch. So it's weird to now see people buy my shirts and, and like I had one girl like write on my page, I'm making you a sign. And it's like, you're making me a sign. Like it was like, I was a kid who was making signs for wrestlers and going to events. So it's such a weird like mind thing. Like it's so weird to think that people are now doing that for me. I haven't really fully like grasped it yet. Like,
Yeah, I could just like imagine because like I'm like thinking about like bringing out like shirts on like pro wrestling tees for O-Face, but I'm also thinking like, are people gonna want to buy it? So like when that time comes, if people start buying, I'm like, wow, like people actually want to buy like stuff that says like my brand on it, like that has to be a great feeling. And like speaking of that, like I've been wanting to actually buy one of your shirts. I think I don't think you've had like a really a merch table the previous times that I've
I
been.
don't think you know what? I don't think I did. Because I just got my stuff in.
Yeah, I remember I bought an 8x10 from you. You had to like go run in and go get it or something like that. But I was like, I
Right.
did. I was looking out and hoping that you would have a T-shirt. I love buying the merch in person, but if not next time, then I'll definitely buy one online.
Okay, definitely. Goddess's Award should be coming back soon. Definitely.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask about because I know they had posted something recently. I know they have an event coming up soon with the men, and it has like 2 goddesses matches, I believe. But they did tease a goddess award.
And one of them will be featuring me.
I think you've been like every one, so it's like you're definitely one of the regulars, and I'd always expect to see you there.
Yeah, this is actually my first Titan show. Like I'm a regular for Goddesses of War. I've never wrestled on the main Titan brand, so April 17th, I'll be making like my debut on the main Titan brand.
That's dope. That's really great. Congratulations.
Yeah, congrats.
And I think that's the same exact day I'm going to an event in Tennessee, so I won't be able to make it. But yeah, I'll definitely. Me and my wife plan on definitely being at the next Goddesses event.
Right. I think we haven't got that date yet. So once that date comes, that'll be all over my social media.
Of course, yeah, I'll definitely be looking out for it. So, Brianna, you're up next.
So I remember I think if you look at a lot of people's backstory on like how they got into wrestling, they'll always say that, they watched like an episode of like Raw or SmackDown, or something was on TV at old pay-per-view. But I think I read somewhere that you actually, and correct me if I'm wrong, you didn't start out in sports. Like you didn't play any sports.
No, not at all.
Wow. So like what started, because that's a very athletic sport, wrestling, even in its college, it's very, even at the college level, it's very athletic. So like what got you from like not doing sports at all to going and doing professional wrestling?
My love for wrestling. I had to, when I started wrestling training, that's what had to switch me to becoming an athlete and starting to work out and weightlift and being in the gym a lot. That's like, and actually it ended up being therapeutic for me as well. So for me, it was hard because like I said, growing up, besides maybe like playing basketball at the park or playing soccer at the park, I wasn't in any high school or collegiate sports. So it was definitely a hard adjustment because I'm in wrestling school with all these people who have done track and have done all these sports. So for me, it was just a hard adjustment. And it made me feel insecure because it wasn't secondhand.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I mean, it's not unheard of that people who played sports and went into this line of business, because again it's very athletic, but it does speak a lot to you if you didn't start out doing any, like, high school sports or sports really in general to, really making a name for yourself, in the scene of wrestling, that's really something to not take lightly, is that a lot of people can't do that. A lot of people really just can't do it. So, yeah, congrats. And then also, I had a follow-up question, but now my computer's acting up, so I just take it to JT. You want to ask a question?
Yes, that's why you don't rely on technology, Brianna.
That's why I
Pen and
don't
paper like I do.
Yeah. He writes all his stuff on paper, and, I used to do that until I was like, oh, I could just, use our computer, and, like, every single time I do it, it always messes up when we do a podcast.
See, that's how I feel about I like writing things down on paper, but sometimes I'm like, what if I don't want to carry all this on the road with me, so I just gotta use my notes on my phone. But then if your phone's low on battery and stuff, and you can't, it's a mess. I feel you, girl, though, on that.
Yeah, like I know a lot of my friends use like the calendars on their phone to like mark events and on. I tried doing it, but I like having the big calendar on my desk and just writing everything, like having everything out there. I mean, I know it's convenient having it all on one on like a little phone or computer, but it's just
Oh no, my events I write down in a planner. I have to write it down because I have to make sure everything is organized. And I feel like you can't really do that on your phone calendar the way you can do it on a planner.
Yeah, that too. It's just like there's nothing compared to doing it like the old school way with, most things. So now my question that I have for you, and I know I've seen you post a lot about them, and I've seen a lot of other wrestlers in the New York, New Jersey area post a lot about them. So tell me a little bit about Monster Factory. Like, it seems I hear a lot of good things about him. I know it's a training facility, I believe, and they also do like live events, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. So the Monster Factory is a school based out of Paulsboro, New Jersey. Danny Cage runs it. And he's the head coach. People like Matt Riddle, Damian Priest, 10 from AEW, they all train down there. We do events twice a month. And it's a school that basically wants to teach you all aspects of wrestling and is very strict on the fundamentals of wrestling and really believe that the fundamentals can get you to the big leagues.
Yeah, I really like that because I've heard a lot of like, horror stories about some training schools kind of like holding people back and stuff like that. But I like hearing that, there's schools out there that try to train you like everything to get you ready for like, the big leagues, like the television and stuff like that, because you could be a really good wrestler, but then when you go into like something that's televised, you have to learn like the camera angles and just like how to here and pose in there and stuff like that. Like it's like kind of like making a movie in a way. So I do like hearing that there are schools that do focus heavy on that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, because in training, we wrestle, like we do our training matches to a camera to teach us hard cam. So, and you hear stories like, I think I heard from Drew McIntyre, he didn't know what a hard cam was when he got to TV. And like at our school, they don't want that to happen.
I've heard people mention that, but I don't even know what a hard cam is. So can you educate me on that?
Yeah, if you're at an indie show, it's that weird camera that you just like, what is that weird tripod that's in like a weird area? Because I've noticed that when I'm at live events, I'm like, what is that? Well, now as a wrestler, of course, I know that's a hard cam, but when you're just a fan, like you might not really pick it up that that's the camera.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I was like, I hear people talk about that. I was like, but what the heck is a hard cam? I was always kind of embarrassed to ask, but you got to learn sometime.
I thought it was like those cameras that if you watch AEW, they'll sit like on the pole where like the ropes connect.
No, that's the roaming. That's one of the roaming cams. Like there's roaming cams, and then there's there's ringside cam. Oh God, we could have a whole podcast based on camera angles for wrestling.
That's awesome.
There's so many different ways.
Usually when I go to a lot of the goddesses events, there's like 3 or 4 people like kind of like roaming around the ring recording and stuff like that. I'm like, holy smokes, like they really like.
Yeah, because they do a lot of good production for their cameras, for their shows. When they post it online, like you get really good quality.
Yeah, I'd never seen any of their stuff on live or anything like that on like the cameras and stuff like that, like online and stuff like that. But yeah, I can imagine how good it looks with all those different angles they get.
Yeah, so I have it's a follow-up to JT's question, because you had mentioned something that kind of sparked my interest a bit, because you said that you hear certain horror stories about training schools. Obviously the one that you've been through, obviously they're good, and they're not trying to hold you back, but like, why would you
I started lurking.
why would you think that I guess, and I'm asking this for both of your opinions, but like, why would you think a wrestling school would want to hold, wrestlers back, indie or not? Even it helps the school, doesn't it? If you get big.
Yeah, it does, but also you got to think about it. We're also wrestling on their show for free because that's our home fed. So you're not getting money from your home fed. So you got basically a free start. So if you think about it, if you think of my wrestling school, the Monster Factory, if you think about the New Jersey scene, the main three girls, like a lot of the girls that's on the scene right now, half the girls are from my school. That's myself, Vicious Vicky, and the Notorious Mimi. So think about it. If we aren't available for that show, and Gabby Ortiz. So if you think about it, that's our women's division. If we're all booked somewhere else, he has no girls, that can can deter a school, be like, oh wow, I have 4 of the hottest girls on the scene, but I can't use them right now.
Mm-hmm.
And also I have 4 of the hottest girls on the scene for free.
That's true. So yeah, I mean, that's that monopoly that they can hold at that school is being able to have you there to do those live shows.
Right.
I think
so that's why.
Yeah, I guess, I get it. You want to hold that monopoly because that's how, obviously puts bread, food on the table. But I would think that, that would also bring more people, I guess, to come to the school, and if more people leaving and they're going to like WWE, they're going to Impact, they're still aim for the school that they left from. So then more people would be like, oh, this person went to Impact, this person went to NXT, so I want to go to the school. But if you didn't hear that people are actively holding you back, that would be like, well, maybe I'll make an Impact, but maybe I won't because they won't let me leave. I just think it's interesting. That's kind of mentality behind that.
What I notice is like it's the rate of creating a new star and your old star leaving. That has to happen in a really quick way. You have to, so if you have maybe 2 stars that are about to get signed with Impact, you need to have 2 stars ready to replace them at the Indies. For a lot of promotions, that's what they feel like. They feel like they have to have another person right then, especially wrestling schools who run Indies. So like a Monster Factory, if 2 people get signed, especially if they're the top 2 people at that promotion, you got to have a star ready to bring the tickets in. And that can deter any wrestling school for wanting to put you in for a tryout, because they feel like, damn, I'm going to lose money once this person's gone.
Yeah.
And also for the wrestler, they feel like, there's no guarantee I'm going to get signed, but I just want to at least get seen. So it's such a weird monopoly on that. It's such a weird thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's just like crazy, because I never knew like you work for free. Like I've heard like stories that like the pay might be little, but you're still getting something.
For your wrestling school. For your wrestling school, most people work for free. I know some wrestling schools, they do pay their students. Mine doesn't. But I do know, like, I think certain schools you get like a small payday, but I don't get paid for Monster Factory shows.
So like when it comes to Monster Factory, because my one friend actually, she wrestles for MCW and she trained there before then. So when her training was done is when she got put on the shows and she gets paid. So for Monster Factory, are you still like technically like training in the school, or are you done?
Yeah.
Okay.
So technically you still train. It's a lifetime membership. Like he doesn't have like a graduation date. So we still train even though we're on the shows. Because yeah, but also that's the different, like, Monster Factory isn't like a big indie compared to maybe like a GCW or like one of those big names. So maybe, because I know like a lot of those bigger companies, they do pay, when they have wrestling schools, they do graduate you and then you get paid. But like my school is still active school.
Yeah.
Does Monster Factor, do they still kind of like treat their events like a regular indie event where there's like merch tables and stuff like that, so you still can get an opportunity to get some kind of revenue and all?
Well, we don't sell merch at our school. We can't sell merch.
Oh, you can't sell merch, okay. That's a bummer then, because I know that can be like a really big, like payday for the wrestlers. The one wrestler,
Right.
me and Brianna interviewed, he explained it kind of as like waiting tables, like the company might not pay you a lot, but then you get a lot of the profit from, like your 8x10 t-shirts and stuff like that.
I noticed that even like at goddesses, like you can make like or have your rate, but then like what you make your merch is like, whoa, especially like one of those when you have a titan who has a fan base who's very loyal to that company, they will spend so much money on merch. It's ridiculous. You'll leave with triple your rate. And you'd be like, oh, okay, this was a good payday.
Yeah, like my wife and I, we always go to Holiday's table and we spend probably like $30 to $40 each. So it's like, the amount of money like, people like her make is just gotta be like crazy.
Oh my God, yeah. She has so much options.
Yeah, she has pins, little bundle packages, t-shirts, stickers, 8x10s, 5x10s. Like, yeah, it's like, it's hard not to want to buy it. Like if when you're a really big fan, you see something you don't have, like I gotta have it,
Yeah. I feel about a lot of wrestlers. There's a few that don't have merch right now, and it's like feeling like tearing my hair out. So like I really want to buy like one of your shirts. So I see that you've had a few matches throughout your time wrestling, starting back from like 2019. But like out of all of the matches that you've had, if you were to rate them from like, I won't do 1 to 5, let's do like 1 to 3, with 1 being like your favorite and 3 being kind of like, I guess least favorite. I'm sure you've not had bad matches, but like, or how you would perceive bad matches, but like, what was your all-time favorite one and why?
My favorite match, I wouldn't say it was my best match, but it is definitely my favorite match. That was Mother Endless in a Falls Count Anywhere match.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so like just because like growing up, that was my thing. I used to love hardcore matches and like the hardcore title being defended everywhere, and so that was cool. And it was also like the original plans for the match were a little bit more elaborate, but the rain kind of made us condense it, and I still feel we told a good story. So that was one of my second favorite match was recent. I can't really go into details. I wish I could because it's a taped match versus the taping.
Gotcha.
But it was against Masha Slimanovic. That's coming to the internet soon. I don't know when. So that was a dope match. And third, probably my title match against Gabby Ortiz. It was my first title match, and it was my Monster Factory. It was my school, so it was the first time I ever challenged for my school title. That was meaningful. So like I said, they were the 3 most meaningful matches to me.
Most meaningful. Why was the last one meaningful? The last, was it because it was a title? It was
it was my first title match.
Gotcha. And you said the first one was special. Like your all-time favorite one was your favorite because why?
Because of the Falls Count Anywhere stipulation.
Because it was hardcore. Gotcha. And then I guess for the second one, we'll just find out when it drops on the internet, and then we all go. Yeah,
that one, it was because I wrestled someone that like I has thought was dope for years.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
So I have to ask too, like you had mentioned, your favorite match was with Mother Endless. So is it intimidating in any type of way wrestling someone with like a character like hers, like very dark and demonic? Like, does it kind of spook you out a little bit being in a ring with someone like that?
No. No. I think for me, because growing up, I was always into like dark type of stuff. I wear dark, like, I don't want to say I'm gothic, but I have like a dark, when I dress, like I dress dark. I like dark lipstick. A lot of people don't know that about me. Like I listen to metal music. Like I have like that dark side to me. So her character is always intriguing to me. And I feel like me and her also have really good chemistry. So it's interesting, like the dynamics, because I'm not intimidated by her, but she goes extra because she knows I'm not intimidated by her. So she feels like she has to be even more,
Crazy.
creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's cool. That's why I love working with her.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I've been, she's been on my radar for like a minute now to come to the show, but I've been kind of intimidated because I know someone like her is going to stay in character during the interview. And I've done it with Anastasia, Morningstar, and Scarlett. And it just like, it was fun, but it was just also kind of like, it's intimidating to try to do an interview with someone with like that kind of character because it's kind of, it's hard to like have a conversation and the like kind of the ask, because you can't ask questions that are non like character related, stuff like that, because then they, you know what I mean. So it's kind of like it's tough, but I can just imagine wrestling someone like that. I would be scared to death. Like even though behind the stage they're a cool person and all that, just you're getting in and them acting like really demonic.
But you still want to respect, you still want to respect the integrity of the character.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when I wrestled her for We Want Wrestling, we had our feet, it built. So like, even though I wasn't intimidated with her creepiness, and she had to be a little bit more crazy, and she cheated, and like I got frustrated. It's like, I'm not scared of you, but I have to now come after you even more. You have to get more crazier, and it just build and build and build. And we did like a Kindle. I think we did a Kindle stick on a pole match one time. And like, I don't know, I think just working with her is fun because it makes me go out of my head a little bit and just have fun, and I don't know, just not treat it so serious sometimes. And I know sometimes I can treat this serious.
Mm.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm hoping now that like Goddesses does that match because I really want to see you and her in the ring. I think that would be fun especially knowing the chemistry is there.
We got to ask them and say, like Mother Endless versus Nevaeh Chantelle.
I'll do that right after this recording. I won't forget. I promise.
Same. You also mentioned that. What bands do you currently listen to or used to listen to?
So right now I'm listening to, there's a indie girl. Her name is Lilith Vindictive. She's a metal singer from the UK. Mm-hmm. And I really want her right now. Like, I'm listening to all her stuff. I'm like obsessed with her. I listen to Icon for Hire. I listen to a lot of, like, right now more to rock. So Icon for Hire, Grandson, a lot. I can't think of everybody right now because it's like a mix. I have a very mixed music taste.
That makes sense. I mean, I still do. I still kind of listen to like the early mid 2000s.
Like
rock.
The Charlotte. And...
Yeah, well, it was more of so I used to be super in the like Slipknot and the Used and Evanescence, obviously, because like that was like the big, rock metal woman lady at the time band. And I still listen to Seven Dust. I really like them because I saw them actually at Carolina Rebellion. They used to do like this huge show out in Charlotte, North Carolina, where they just brought all the metal acts together and like you get to see them all on stage for like a couple days. I used to listen to Alice in Chains, like all those like old bands. So
yeah.
I haven't
So like I used to like around that time I used to like Stan. They're not real, I wouldn't even call them like fully metal, but I used to go with like Three Doors Down, Korn, Saliva, like around that time, and I still listen to them to this day.
Yeah, I used to like in Korn. Definitely, I used to be a Korn fan. I haven't really, if they've released anything recently, I haven't really listened to it.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Three Doors
Down.
Good Charlotte. I think Good Charlotte's no longer Good Charlotte anymore. I think their band, I think they have a new, or their lead singer a new band, but like the actual band has been disbanded. But yeah, I haven't really listened to a lot because again, a lot of these bands like Good Charlotte kind of dissipated. Their lead singer would go and do like something else. I used to be a huge Breaking Benjamin fan, like huge.
Ooh. I've seen them live once. They're fantastic.
So they really are. Like back when Ben was like, and I hate saying this, and God forgive me, but when he was like still smoking, like I can't even figure out what it was, but like it hit 10 times better. I just don't know what happened. But yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I'm stuck in like the mid 2000s as well with music. I've seen Three Doors Down twice live. I love them. I went through a lot of different phases in high school where I would be really into hard rock and then emo and then heavy metal. Like I went through my like Atreyu and All That Remains kind of phase. Bullet for My Valentine. And of course I liked my like Hawthorne Heights, Sugar Coal, Story of the Year, Blink-182, stuff like that. So. And I still listen to like all that same stuff. If other than like Blink-182, I really don't listen to any new stuff if they do have any of it.
I feel like so a lot of these bands I was introduced to through wrestling. So like the Papa Roaches and like a lot of them like Fall Out Boy, like a lot of bands I was introduced to through wrestling.
Yeah, I remember Ember Moon on the Indies. She had Centuries from Fall Out Boy as her theme song. That was the first time I ever heard that song.
And yeah, I got into Alter Bridge because of Edge.
Yeah.
This thing, and I like, and then my now fiance like listens to or has like a bunch of their CDs, and that's how I got. So yeah, I can see how like getting into these bands came from wrestling because a lot of them that was like their scene. Be like how they come out, and thank God for the internet. Now we can just kind of look up stuff by lyric and find out.
Did you listen to like the theme song?
Yeah.
You listen to the theme song and then you want to listen to more of what they got, and then you get into them.
Yeah, you go down that rabbit hole. It's always a fun time.
Like I don't know about like AEW, but I think like WWE like makes their own like theme songs now. So it's nothing like they don't use like rock music anymore and just like take out the lyrics. They just create their own stuff. Like Bobby Roode's theme as like an example. Like so, it's like they don't use rock bands. I forgot what I think it's called like CFO is what.
Yeah, CFO.
I think they're using someone new now for a couple of their new songs. I think they're using someone new. But even like when they were using CFO, like they were collaborating. Like when they were using Aleister Black's theme song, I think they collaborated with someone. I think they collaborated with someone for
Orange something, I think, or
yeah.
I remember because they played his theme song live at one of the NXT Takeover. That's a good song, but we haven't heard it in a while because Aleister has been MIA for a while.
Yeah,
Yeah, that guy had so much potential. It's sad, they just never fully utilized him because that guy, like, people were comparing him to the Undertaker.
Aleister,
but yeah.
What's music? I gotta figure out now what his old music was.
My wife would laugh because a lot of the times when I'm watching wrestling, I'd be like laying on the floor watching it. I would like get up like I was coming out of a coffin, like when he would do it, and she would like always like laugh at me. But I do like the do the entrances and some wrestlers come out. I still let the kid out in me when I watch wrestling.
That's what it's all about. It's like it's supposed to bring out that pop, that pop in you, that like because it was kind of like how Royal Rumble 2020. It was like when Edge came out, like seeing my friends, my fiance, like just be super hype about it, like a kid would. That's really a lot of what wrestling still should be, is to tune in so that you don't miss that pop, that like part of you that kind of is kid-like when something really cool happens.
Yeah, I was at a viewing party in New York watching the Royal Rumble, and I still had the video on my phone of like just everyone at the bar like popping like crazy when he came out. I was just like, holy smokes, like people are banging on the table, yelling, screaming, like it was a great moment, like. And then, I wish that, I would have, obviously COVID, like when Christian came back, I think that would have been a great pop too, from everyone.
I feel like we were kind of robbed of that. like I felt bad for like that Christian return. I feel like if that was, I feel like he would have had something very similar to what Edge got.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the hug happened between him and Edge, I feel like the fans would have even erupted more. I feel like the pandemic has robbed us of so much good wrestling moments.
Yeah, because the fans make the moments, with their reaction, and like we were robbed a lot, because of COVID. Like the fans would have went crazy for Bianca winning and Sasha winning the SmackDown title, and just so many other things that have happened in wrestling. It's just not the same. With even though the little TV thing is pretty cool, it's just it's not like it's not a live crowd.
Right. Even like Bailey turning on Sasha, or Undertaker's final farewell at Survivor Series, like all that type of stuff, I just feel like should have fans.
Those things should.
And without COVID, we would have had Undertaker's final match be in front of a crowd too. That would have been a good moment. Even though we didn't know that was going to be his last match, but still, like, it would have been nice for his last match to be in front of a crowd. I still feel like he's still going to come back and do one more match. Just knowing him and knowing Vince, like, I still feel like it's going to happen.
Just
I
one
feel
more.
like he has to find the right opponent for that final match.
Yeah, because the one thing that doesn't sit right with me is the fact that he didn't lose his last match. He's very old school, and that's the old school way to go out, is to lose to someone. So the fact that he didn't lose makes me feel like he's gonna come back and and wrestle someone. I just don't know who.
It'll boost. I mean, if you think about it, like, it's one thing to be like, oh, well, I'm leaving, and then have a lot of people be like upset that, Undertaker's not wrestling anymore, and then he just like comes out and actually has his legit retirement match. And he's done it like a couple times already. I mean,
Yeah, he's retired. I think he retired in the 90s at one point, apparently, but then, kept going. So he's the Undertaker. He keeps rising up,
Yeah.
No pun intended, but.
Yeah.
So, Brianna, I kind of got lost. So is it my turn or your turn?
So I asked about metal and bands that we liked. So I guess that counts as a question.
Okay.
So yeah, you.
So I'll throw out my last and final question. So, Nevaeh, so in 2021, what are some of your top goals? Like, what do you want to accomplish in the business this year?
My main goal this year is to win a title, to win my first women's championship. I've challenged for a lot of titles in 2019. Before the pandemic, I was challenging for a lot of titles. I didn't win. I won a title before the end of this year. I won a championship. That's the main goal. Whether it's at Guys' a War Monster Factory, once New York opens, one of the New York promotions I work for, I want a championship.
And I definitely see you getting it. I mean, you're very active. You're a great wrestler. I could definitely see you getting that opportunity. Just hopefully it's this year. We'll just have to cross our fingers and see. I think COVID will play a role in how many promotions are actually being active too. But it seems like we're going in the right direction. So I could definitely see that happening. Mm-hmm.
No, I was just gonna, along with your goals and what you want to achieve, are there any things that you want to see continue in the industry or change in the industry?
I want to see this year new stars created. I feel like the indies have had the same people on top.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them are getting signed, but not a lot of them are getting replaced. Like kind of what I was saying earlier. I feel like the indies is in dire need of new people. We're seeing the same matches over and over again. And it's time for new matchups. It's time for the industry to create new stars so the stars on top can go and we can have a healthy indie scene.
Yeah, because it's like WWE and AEW have been like gobbling up a lot of your top indie stars within the last year, and also it seems like a lot of them are the ones that were like rising too, because like you said, a lot of the ones that are on top seem to always be on top, and we haven't seen a lot of them like jump to WWE. I don't know if it's because they just want to stay where they're at, or vice versa. But yeah, it's definitely always good to see new stars, because there's a lot of great wrestlers out there, It's just more so them just getting known.
I agree.
Definitely.
Also, I would like to see in on the mainstream wrestling, definitely WWE creating new stars as well. Definitely, they have such a. I watch NXT every week, and that NXT women's roster is so amazing.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, like the future of women's wrestling, especially in WWE, is like amazing, and I hope they do right by those girls because they have such an amazing and healthy roster of women talent, and I think there's no reason for the same people to be on top, especially in women's wrestling in WWE.
Definitely.
Yeah, because
Yeah, yeah. I mean, with NXT, their women's roster is elite. It is just it's really out of this world. The kind of people that they have employed with them, the type of talent that they have, that it does not make any sense. Honestly, for me personally, it doesn't make any sense for anyone from Raw or SmackDown to even come on those shows. They don't need it. Like all the people that are NXT right now, as long as they continue to build storylines and build characters, they can exist and thrive on their own. They do not need people like Charlotte and Sasha and Shayna. They really just don't. They really don't need it. And that's not a knock on any of those women that I mentioned, but they just don't need to come. Like all these women, they can stand on their own, and that women's division is some of the best that I've seen, So I definitely agree with you. Like they can stand on their own. They do not need any help.
And also and they don't get as much shine, but they're just as an elite, and that's the NXT UK women.
Right.
I watched Kaylee versus Sakamura, and I was like, oh my God, this women's match. And it doesn't get us enough praise. I'm like, that match was amazing. That NXT UK women's match was amazing. And it doesn't get enough credit.
I just don't know what it'll take, to be honest, to get, the women to be noticed in that way, to get that shine, that recognition, because they have the talent. It's not lack of talent. It's never been lack of talent, really. So
I just think
the UK, I wish I had more time to watch some of their stuff, because oh my God, some of the things that I've seen in the last 2 years, some of the best wrestling that I've seen in the last 2 years as a whole has come from some of the stuff that I watch on NXT UK takeovers. 100%.
I just think the issue with that is there's just so much wrestling out there. Like, people are gonna, at the end of the day, go and watch Raw and SmackDown, and then NXT over UK. And then you got AEW, Impact, Ring of Honor, New Japan. There's just so much. It's hard to even want to make time for some of the other stuff. So I think that's just there's just too much, which I'm not complaining about, but it's hard to keep up with everything.
Very saturated.
Right.
You just to be tapped on, and it's hard to keep up. So when you try to be involved and they can't remember people's names, it's I don't even get too upset or offended by that. There's so much wrestling. The fact that you've seen an NXT UK show, you think it is good, that's great. You're a fan. I'm not gonna gatekeep that, because there's 14 different promotions. You got to keep a billion storylines.
So yeah. So I think that that wraps up our interview. You didn't have any other questions, did you, Brianna?
I don't think so. I guess the one other one I would ask, because it did piggyback off of JT's question, was we always hear folks within the indie scene, they want to move up. They always talk about, I want to go to AEW, wrestle this person. I want to go to WWE, wrestle that person. I want to go to NXT, wrestle this person and that person. But, is that kind of your end goal in terms of your career, and it is okay to be I want to stay in the indies. That's where I feel more comfortable. And, that's, and see the way that these big promotions make you work so much that you can't see your family, your friends, and all that. Like, I can understand how someone would be like, you know what, I stay in the indies because at least I have a life, and my life is not tied to being on TV and working 300 of the 365 days. So I guess my question was more of like, do you see yourself staying in the indie scene, or do you want to move up? And there's no real right or wrong answer, obviously.
I want to, the ultimate goal is to get signed, whether it's AEW or WWE. I just want to make sure I am ready and prepared for it, whether that's as a wrestler and as a person. And what I mean by that is I want to make sure my move sets, you know, of course WWE is going to help you and create your character, help you form a character that they want to use you for, and you know, teach you how to wrestle how they want to. But I want to make sure, for me personally, I just want to make sure that I'm completely ready to immerse myself in that culture. What I mean by that is WWE, that's not only a full-time job, that's a lifestyle.
Definitely.
You know, so I just want to make sure that I'm fully mentally and physically prepared for that. But my goal is to be signed one day.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I will manifest for myself, whether it's WWE or AEW.
Yes.
So, you know, but like I said, you know, I just want to make sure that I'm ready for it and can handle the responsibility of it.
Of course. Yeah, no, I mean, the mental preparedness is that's important. 100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
What did you say, JT?
Oh, I said absolutely. Like, yeah, it is definitely, you know, the mental aspect of it and all is definitely a big factor. And a lot of people don't realize that part. I think it's all physical, but, you know, you're sacrificing a lot to be with WWE, like all the traveling and not really spending time with, you know, friends and family and stuff like that. Like, it takes a toll on you mentally, and it's, you know, something that you definitely got to be prepared for.
Yeah, and especially like if you hate it, not like working at a company in which your lifestyle is your job. I can understand. You have to understand at some point if you end up not liking it, or you hear these stories about people leaving in the wake and the fallout of, like, you know, working for WWE and, you know, Vince was kind of an asshole to me, or, you know, this person was kind of an asshole to me. That can ruin your life mentally, emotionally. So he's like, you know, she said she has to prepare herself, and like, I'm glad that, you know, that's the answer that I heard, because you got to be prepared for that going either way. And I'm sure even working in indies, that's some of that is still rings true, but like WWE, I mean, that's your life is your full-time job. And God bless them for doing it for some of them as long as they have. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like football or baseball where you have an off season. Like, it's every week,
Right.
all year. You know, that's the crazy thing.
Whenever you want them, whenever they want you to come back, like, you could have some time off, and it's like, okay, well, now I gotta leave my family, I gotta up and leave because they want me to come back, and for God knows how long, or for not long at all. Yeah.
Exactly. So, bless you if that was a sneeze. I don't know if that's a sneeze or cough. But yeah, thank you so much, Nevaeh, for joining us today on O-Face Wrestling. It was really fun interviewing you and learning about, like, I never knew you liked, you know, like the heavy metal stuff and all, so that was really fun learning that and all.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
I feel like we've been talking about me coming on here and we just never put the date together.
Yeah, because like when I'd been wanting you on the show for a while, because actually I saw one of your matches when I had interviewed Debria X, and she sent me some of her matches, and you were her tag team partner, and you had like the white strip on your hair, and it reminded me of the I think Raven was her name from X-Men, or Storm, not Raven. Storm.
When I had silver hair.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's really dope. I gotta have her on the show. And then when I had the opportunity to interview in person, I wanted to space it out a little bit, you know, like, so I could have, you know, more fresh questions to ask you. So I was kind of waiting for that. And so yeah, but yeah, we finally got you on the you know, on the show, you know, versus just like the 3-minute person interview. So that was really fun.
Yes. Well, thank you guys for having me. I had fun.
No, yeah, no problem at all. So Nevaeh, do you want to share your social media to all the listeners to let them know where to find you at?
You guys can follow me on social media, all social platforms at Nevaeh Chantelle.
All right, and I'll make sure that I'll put a link in the bio to all your social media outlets so everyone can find you. And also everyone who's listening, make sure that you give us a sub on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and now TikTok. We are on there, so make sure you give us a follow on all those social media platforms. And I'll thank you so much for joining on Brianna and I again, Nevaeh.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all for listening.